I'm Darlene, 62 years old, and until recently, I was a retired nurse living with my son Thomas and his wife Amanda in Boston. 3 weeks ago, my world shattered when Thomas passed away suddenly from heart failure at only 39. I thought grief was the worst pain I would endure until Amanda stood in our foyer, my packed suitcases at her feet, and said those words I'll never forget. Don't be dramatic, Darlene. Pack your bags and learn to survive. Before I share how I went from sleeping in my car to finding justice, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. Hit subscribe and like if you've ever had family betray you when you needed them most. My story begins long before that terrible day. Frank and I shared 40 beautiful years together. We weren't wealthy, but our lives were rich with love. Frank worked at the electric company while I built my career as a nurse. Thomas was our only child, born after years of trying our miracle baby. From the moment he entered this world, he became our greatest joy. I remember how Thomas would follow Frank around our backyard, trying to mimic his every move when fixing things around the house. As he grew, Thomas developed his father's analytical mind, but inherited my compassion. He excelled in school, eventually becoming a financial advisor at a prestigious firm in Boston. When Thomas brought Amanda home to meet us 8 years ago, she charmed us completely. She was beautiful, educated, and seemed to adore our son. Their wedding was everything they wanted, and Frank and I were thrilled when they blessed us with our grandchildren, Lily and Jacob, now 8 and 5. 3 years ago, cancer took Frank from us. The pain was unbearable. After 40 years together, I felt like half of me had disappeared. Thomas was my rock during that time, calling daily and visiting whenever he could. When I decided to sell our family home, too big and full of memories for just me, Thomas and Amanda insisted I move in with them. "Mom, we have plenty of space," Thomas said. "The kids would love having you around, and it would help us with childcare too." At first, life in their beautiful colonial home seemed perfect. I had my own bedroom and bathroom downstairs. Each morning, I'd prepare breakfast for everyone. I'd walk the children to school, then spend my days keeping the house in order, preparing meals, and tending to the garden that became my therapy. When Thomas returned from work, his face would light up seeing the home-cooked meals on the table. "Best decision we ever made having you here," he'd tell me, kissing my cheek. I contributed to household expenses from my Social Security and nursing pension. After selling our modest home, I had about $180,000 in savings. Thomas suggested I let him invest it for better returns. "I'll put it in a special account, Mom. You'll earn much better interest than that pittance the bank offers." I trusted my son completely and transferred the money to an account he managed. That money represented Frank's and my entire life's work, our security blanket. Looking back, I should have noticed the subtle signs of Amanda's resentment. The sideways glances when Thomas praised my cooking, the backhanded compliments about how I kept busy for someone your age, the way she'd rearrange things I'd cleaned or organized as if my efforts weren't quite good enough. Thomas always smoothed things over. "Amanda's just particular about her space," he'd explain, or "she's stressed about her promotion." I tried to be understanding. After all, having your mother-in-law move in isn't easy for anyone. My grandchildren became my greatest joy. Lily would crawl into my lap for stories, and Jacob would beg me to build forts with him. Those moments made any tension with Amanda worthwhile. I never imagined how quickly it would all fall apart. The evening that changed everything started like any other Tuesday. I had prepared Thomas's favorite pot roast. He had been complaining about chest pain for a few days, blaming it on work stress from a big client account. "Thomas, those symptoms worry me." I told him that morning, my nursing instincts on high alert. "Chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, these aren't just stress symptoms." "Mom, I'm only 39, he laughed. "It's not a heart attack. It's just deadline pressure." Amanda rolled her eyes. "He works 60-hour weeks, Darlene. Of course he's tired. Not everything needs a medical diagnosis." That evening, Thomas seemed in good spirits, even having a second helping of dinner. He was in the middle of telling a story about a client when he suddenly stopped mid-sentence. His hand went to his chest, his face contorted in pain. "Thomas." I stood up immediately. He tried to speak, but no words came. Then he collapsed, sliding from his chair onto the dining room floor. "Thomas," I screamed, rushing to his side, automatically checking his airway. His pulse. Amanda, call 911. Now. The next moments blur together in my memory. Performing CPR on my own son, counting compressions, breathing into his mouth, praying between each breath. The paramedics arriving, taking over. The silent ride to the hospital, holding Jacob and Lily's hands while Amanda sat stone-faced in the front seat. In the emergency room, a young doctor with kind eyes delivered the news that would shatter my world. Mrs. Watson, I'm so sorry. Your son suffered a massive heart failure. Despite our best efforts, we couldn't resuscitate him. My legs gave out. A nurse caught me before I hit the floor. I kept shaking my head, repeating, "He's only 39, this can't be happening." The children didn't understand. How could they? Lily kept asking when Daddy was coming home. Jacob just cried, sensing the adults' distress. What struck me as odd, even through my grief, was Amanda's reaction. While I dissolved into tears, she remained composed, almost detached. She made phone calls in the corner of the waiting room, her voice too low for me to hear. "Amanda, the children need you," I said gently, trying to connect with her through our shared loss. "I have arrangements to make," she replied coldly, stepping outside to continue her calls. Over the next few days, I took care of Lily and Jacob while Amanda was frequently absent, handling paperwork and arrangements, she said. I organized meals, fielded condolence calls, and tried to explain to my grandchildren why Daddy wasn't coming home. When I suggested we use the funeral home that had handled Frank's service, Amanda curtly informed me she had already made different arrangements. When I offered to help pay from my savings, she accepted without hesitation. The funeral was beautiful but surreal. Thomas looked peaceful in his casket, too young, too still. I noticed Amanda speaking intimately with Derek Thomas's colleague, their heads bent close together. When she saw me watching, she quickly moved away. A grief counselor at the funeral told me, everyone processes loss differently. Some people shut down emotionally to function. I tried to give Amanda grace to understand her coldness as shock. I was wrong. The first real sign that something was deeply wrong came exactly 1 week after we buried Thomas. I was in the kitchen baking cookies with Lily and Jacob when Amanda's parents arrived. They had attended the funeral but left immediately after. Now they were back, and the look they gave me was anything but sympathetic. Amanda ushered them upstairs, but their voices carried. "She's still here. I thought you said you'd handle it." Her mother's shrill voice drifted down. "I'm working on it, Mom. These things take time. The longer she stays, the harder it will be. That house money should be for the children, not her retirement." I pretended not to hear, focusing on helping Jacob roll cookie dough into perfect little balls, but my hands trembled. That evening, Amanda informed me that she'd enrolled the children in an after-school program. "They need structure and activities," she said. "You don't need to pick them up anymore." Just like that, my afternoons with my grandchildren vanished. The next blow came when I found Thomas's clothes being packed into donation boxes. "Isn't it too soon?" I asked, watching Amanda efficiently empty his closet just 10 days after the funeral. "Keeping his things won't bring him back," she replied. The grief counselor said moving forward is healthy. While helping tidy Thomas's home office, a task Amanda reluctantly allowed, I found bank statements showing large transfers from Thomas's accounts in the days before and after his death. When I mentioned them casually at dinner, Amanda snatched the papers from my hand. "Those are private financial matters, Darlene. Thomas left me as executor for a reason." "But shouldn't I know about his accounts? Especially the one holding my house money?" Her face hardened. "This is my house now. The mortgage is in my name too. Your arrangement was with Thomas, not me." Lily looked up from her plate, eyes wide at her mother's tone. Jacob started to cry, sensing the tension. "Not now," Amanda hissed, taking the children upstairs. Later that week, I overheard Amanda giving a tour of my bedroom to her interior designer friend. "Once the room is empty, I'm thinking a home gym. The natural light is perfect." When I confronted her, she feigned innocence. "Just exploring options for the future, Darlene. No need to be paranoid." The next day, my cell phone stopped working. When I asked Amanda about it, she shrugged. That was Thomas's business account. I had to cancel unnecessary lines. "You can get your own plan if you want." I tried calling some of Thomas's friends using the house phone, hoping they might help me understand what was happening with the estate. Strangely, none returned my calls. Later, I discovered Amanda had contacted them all, explaining I was struggling mentally with grief and creating problems. She asked them to direct any questions to her. I was being systematically isolated, my connections to Thomas and the outside world deliberately severed one by one. 2 weeks after Thomas's funeral, I returned from grocery shopping to find my suitcases and boxes packed in the foyer. Amanda stood beside them talking to a young woman with a realtor's badge. The mother-in-law suite would make an excellent home office or gym space, Amanda was saying. Once it's cleared out, of course. They both looked up when I entered. The realtor had the decency to appear embarrassed. "What's going on?" I asked, though I already knew. "Darlene, we need to talk," Amanda said, dismissing the realtor with a nod. "This arrangement isn't working anymore." "What arrangement? This is my home, too." "No, it was Thomas's home. He's gone now. I've spoken with my lawyer, and legally I have no obligation to house you." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Amanda, I just lost my son. You just lost your husband. The children lost their father. Shouldn't we be supporting each other?" "I'm trying to move forward for my children's sake," she said coldly. "Your constant grief is bringing everyone down." "Grandma?" Lily appeared at the top of the stairs, Jacob beside her. "Why are your suitcases here? Are you going on a trip?" Before I could answer, Amanda called up to them. "Come down, kids. We need to explain something to you." When they reached the bottom of the stairs, Amanda knelt before them. "Grandma needs to go to her own home now. We need space to be our own family." "But I don't want Grandma to go," Jacob wailed, running to wrap his arms around my legs. "Me neither," Lily said, tears filling her eyes. "Amanda, please," I begged. "Give me a little time to find a place. Don't do this now." Her face hardened as she pried Jacob away from me. "Don't be dramatic, Darlene. Pack your bags and learn to survive. Everyone has to stand on their own eventually." "I have nowhere to go," I said, my voice breaking. "At least, let me access my money from the house sale and I can find an apartment." A cruel smile touched her lips. "Thomas left everything to me. That money was a gift to us legally. You signed the transfer documents yourself." "That's not true. It was my money. Thomas was just investing it for me." "Do you have that in writing?" she asked, knowing full well I didn't. I didn't think so. My lawyer says verbal agreements mean nothing. "Now I need you out today, or I'll call the police and report you for trespassing." I looked at my grandchildren's tear-stained faces, then at the woman I had once welcomed as a daughter. "Can I at least say goodbye to them properly?" Amanda hesitated, then nodded curtly. "5 minutes, then I want you gone." I knelt before my precious grandchildren. "Grandma has to go away for a little while, but I love you both so much. I'll see you again very soon, I promise." "When?" Jacob asked, hiccuping through his tears. "I don't know yet, sweetheart, but I'll find a way." I hugged them both tightly, breathing in their scent, trying to memorize every detail of their small, warm bodies against mine. All too quickly, Amanda pulled them away. "That's enough. They have homework." I picked up my purse and wheeled one suitcase toward the door. Amanda's father appeared from the kitchen to carry the second suitcase and box to my car, an old Toyota that Thomas had insisted I keep, just in case. "Nothing personal," he muttered, not meeting my eyes. "Family has to look out for its own." I sat in my car watching the door close on the house where my son had lived, where my grandchildren still lived. I checked my wallet, $230. My entire life had been reduced to 2 suitcases, a cardboard box, and less money than I would need for even the cheapest motel room for more than a few nights. As night fell, I parked behind a supermarket, reclined my seat, and finally allowed myself to break down completely. I cried for Thomas, for my grandchildren, for the betrayal, and for my own naivety. I cried until there were no tears left, then fell into an exhausted sleep. The first days of living in my car taught me how invisible you become when you have nowhere to go. I moved my parking spot daily, behind different stores and hospital visitor lots in quiet residential areas where an old sedan wouldn't attract attention. My first stroke of luck was remembering my YMCA membership card in my wallet. For $20 a month, I had access to showers, bathrooms, and a place to stay warm during daytime hours. I'd spend mornings there, then head to the public library until closing time. My nursing training helped me maintain appearances. I kept my clothes neat, my hair clean, my demeanor calm. No one looking at me would guess I was homeless. Pride keeps up appearances even when the world has turned upside down. I rationed my money carefully. Dollar menu items, water bottles refilled in public bathrooms, a cheap, prepaid phone for emergencies. When my funds dwindled dangerously low, I swallowed my pride and visited a community food pantry. On my 5th night, a police officer tapped on my window around midnight. I rolled it down, heart pounding. "Everything okay, ma'am?" He asked, flashlight politely pointed downward. "Yes, officer, just resting before continuing my drive." I lied. He studied me, then my car's tidy interior. "Been seeing this vehicle here several nights. You sure you have somewhere to go?" Something in his kind eyes broke through my facade. "Not really, no. My daughter-in-law evicted me after my son passed away." Instead of asking me to move along, he gave me information about safe parking programs and women's shelters. "The St. Mary's shelter on Waterman Street is good, clean safe. They might have a bed." The next morning, I gathered my courage and visited St. Mary's. They had no beds available, but the intake coordinator, Sandra, took interest in my situation. "You said your son's wife evicted you after he died, and your house money was in his accounts." Sandra's brow furrowed. "I'm a paralegal during the day. This sounds legally questionable at best." "I don't have money for lawyers," I explained. "Did your son have a workplace policy life insurance 401k? Those wouldn't automatically go to Amanda without proper paperwork." I hadn't thought of that. Thomas had worked at his firm for over 10 years. Surely there were benefits I didn't know about. With Sandra's encouragement, I called Thomas's office. His assistant, Julie, sounded shocked when I explained my situation. "Mrs. Watson Thomas spoke of you often." I had no idea. "Listen, I can't share details, but you should contact Jordan Taylor. He was Thomas's personal attorney, not the firm's lawyer." "That's important." I thanked her and hung up, then remembered the business card Thomas had given me years ago. "Keep this in case you ever need anything and can't reach me," he had said. I found it tucked in an old address book in my purse. I left a voicemail for Jordan Taylor explaining who I was and what had happened, not really expecting a response. When you're down to your last few dollars, hope becomes a luxury. To survive until something changed, I took a job washing dishes at a diner. The owner, Patty, let me park my car behind the restaurant overnight. "Safer here than on the street," she said simply, asking no questions about my circumstances. For 2 weeks, I lived between my car, the YMCA, the library, and the diner. I counted coins for payphone calls to my grandchildren that always went unanswered. I practiced what I would say to them when I finally got through. Then, on the 14th day of my homeless existence, my prepaid phone rang. It was Jordan Taylor. "Mrs. Watson, I'm so glad you called. I've been trying to locate you. We need to talk immediately. How soon can you come to my office?" Jordan Taylor's office was in a sleek downtown building that made me acutely aware of my discount store clothes and worn shoes. But the young attorney didn't seem to notice as he ushered me in. "Mrs. Watson, I've been handling your son's personal legal matters for years," he began. "When Thomas came to me 6 months ago to update his will and trusts, he was very specific about provisions for you." My heart skipped. "His will," Amanda said, "everything went to her automatically." Jordan's expression darkened. "That is categorically untrue. Thomas created a specific trust for you funded with a separate life insurance policy, naming you as the sole beneficiary." He turned his computer screen toward me, showing documents with Thomas's signature. "This policy for $500,000 is entirely separate from his work benefits that would go to Amanda." I stared at the screen, uncomprehending. "But why wouldn't Amanda tell me—" "That's not all," Jordan continued. "Thomas also created this trust document specifically protecting your house money. He was explicit that the $180,000 you transferred was a loan to be held in trust, not a gift. Can you prove all this?" "Absolutely." Thomas recorded a video statement of intent with me standard practice for my clients. He specifically mentioned being concerned about your financial protection if anything happened to our relationship with Amanda. Those were his exact words. Tears filled my eyes. Even in death, my son was looking out for me. "There's more," Jordan said, his tone growing serious. "I have discovered troubling financial activity, large transfers from Thomas's accounts to a new account created just days before his death, an account only Amanda can access. She was making calls at the hospital, I remembered. Right after he died, she seemed so organized. Jordan nodded grimly. I've also been contacted by Thomas's colleague, Derek Martin. He shared some disturbing information about his relationship with Amanda. They seemed close at the funeral, I said quietly. According to Derek, they've been involved for nearly a year. He came forward because he's troubled by Amanda's actions. He says she discussed Thomas's life insurance policies with him months ago. The implication hung in the air, too terrible to voice. What happens now? I asked. I've filed an emergency petition to freeze all accounts. We have a court date next week. In the meantime, he slid a key across the desk. Thomas kept a small apartment as an office. It's paid through the year. You can stay there until this is resolved. I took the key with trembling fingers. One more thing, Jordan added. A private investigator has been documenting your grandchildren's well-being. They've been asking for you. We'll address visitation rights in court. For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. Thomas hadn't abandoned me after all. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, more intimate, which somehow made facing Amanda across the aisle even more difficult. She looked shocked when I walked in with Jordan and his legal team. Clearly, she hadn't expected me to find help. The proceedings moved quickly. Jordan presented the trust documents, the video of Thomas explaining his wishes, and evidence of financial transfers. The judge, an older woman with shrewd eyes, listened carefully to both sides. Amanda's lawyer argued that the money had been a gift, that Thomas had wanted everything to go to her and the children, but he faltered when Jordan presented the recorded evidence. Your Honor, Jordan said, we have further evidence suggesting Mrs. Carson was involved with another man before Mr. Watson's death, and discussions about insurance policies took place between them. We request a complete financial forensic investigation. Amanda's face went white. The judge's ruling was decisive. I'm issuing a temporary injunction freezing all disputed assets. Mrs. Watson's specific trust and insurance policy are to be released to her immediately. A guardian ad litem will be appointed to evaluate the children's best interests regarding visitation. Outside the courtroom, Amanda hurried past without looking at me, her lawyer whispering urgently in her ear. Jordan squeezed my shoulder. This is just the beginning, but it's a good start. The insurance company will release funds within days. The trust money may take longer, but it's protected now. The next weeks brought more revelations. The forensic accountant found evidence that Amanda had been transferring small amounts from our joint household account for months. The life insurance payout allowed me to place a down payment on a small condo just 10 minutes from the children's school. The guardian ad litem's report was damning for Amanda. Both children had been devastated by my sudden disappearance. The court granted me regular visitation rights with the stipulation that Amanda could not interfere. The first reunion with Lily and Jacob left us all in tears. We thought you didn't want us anymore, Lily sobbed. I would never leave you willingly, I promised, holding them close. Grandma just needed to fix some grown-up problems first. As the investigation continued, Amanda must have seen the writing on the wall. Within 3 months, she had moved to Connecticut with Derek. She maintained primary custody of the children, but was ordered to facilitate my regular visits. My new condo became a safe haven. I joined a grief support group where I could finally process Thomas's death alongside my other traumas. Sandra from the shelter became a dear friend, joining me for coffee every Sunday. Most importantly, I started a support network for displaced elderly parents and grandparents. So many others had stories similar to mine, left vulnerable after the death of an adult child facing unexpected housing insecurity. Know your legal rights before tragedy strikes. I would tell them. Document everything. Trust, but verify. My life now is quieter, but filled with purpose. I cherish my weekends with Lily and Jacob, maintaining our bond despite the distance. Sometimes I catch glimpses of Thomas in their smiles and their kindness, and I know he would be proud of how we've all survived. The greatest lesson I learned through all this hardship is that family isn't always defined by blood. Sometimes, family is the police officer who gives you shelter information instead of a citation. Sometimes it's the diner owner who offers safe parking. Sometimes it's the lawyer who works tirelessly to restore what was wrongfully taken. And sometimes, family is the voice of a son who loved you enough to protect you even after he was gone. Have you ever discovered strength you never knew you had during your darkest moments, Share your story in the comments below. If this touched your heart, please hit like and subscribe to support more stories of resilience and justice. Remember to share with someone who might need to hear that even in our hardest times, we can find our way back to light. Thank you for listening, and may you always find the support you need when life knocks you down.